Well, if you couldn't tell, I'm at a hotel. I'm traveling for work. And as I was packing for this trip, I packed the clothes and items that you need on a trip, but I only brought my laptop and my cell phone. It's actually the cell phone I'm recording this video with right now. And it got me thinking how lucky we are today to have devices so powerful that I could have gotten away with just my cell phone. And there have been trips in the past where I only bring my cell phone and I'm able to do pretty much everything I need to do, whether it's work or just watching videos at night in the hotel room. And if you couldn't tell by what's going on in the background here, made me really think about the AI Pin and Rabbit R1. Yes, they're not retro. I'm not going to do a video on it, at least for 15 or 20 years, but I do follow modern devices in my daily life. And it made me think back to a time where we had to carry multiple devices with us. That's just how it worked. You had to have your cell phone, you had to have maybe a PDA or an iPod, whatever. And I think that the demographic that the AI Pin and Rabbit R1 are really geared toward are old enough to maybe have some disposable income to buy a device like that, but yet young enough to not remember what it was like to travel with all kinds of stuff like this. And I thought, well, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it on this trip. Let's bring everything and kind of show you the inconvenience of traveling with multiple devices. Now, this might seem a lot, but in reality, it's not. Maybe you aren't going to take a full video camera, but I had a lot of this when I would travel when I was younger because this is what you needed. And you got to put some perspective in it because today your cell phone is your media player, it's your games, it's your camera, both video and still, it's your connection to the world, documents, everything you needed you could do on your cell phone. And if you have your cell phone and a laptop, geez, you're set. You can do anything that your work or recreation might throw at you. But before that, in the times of flip phones, and I apologize because in my rush, I forgot I was going to bring my Motorola Razr. So pretend the Razr's here. But in the day of flip phones, you couldn't do that. Yeah, I had a camera in the Razr, but it wasn't that good. If I wanted to take pictures that I wanted to share, I needed a separate camera for it because a lot of the devices then, and even a lot of the devices here, could do other things. I could have a camera for my Palm M130. I could have a camera for the laptop, but they weren't good. So if you wanted good quality, you needed multiple devices. So I really don't think that this is an exaggeration of what people would have in the early 2000s. But it should be a reminder because we needed multiple devices, and it was a blessing to have a cell phone that could do multiple things incredibly well to the point where you didn't need to carry other things. I don't need to have an AI pin or R1 to communicate with AI because my cell phone can do that already. But I think we forget that, and I think there's a novelty of having multiple devices. So let's take a look at what we have on the desk here and kind of walk through it. All right, so let's start with arguably the star of the show here, my laptop. This is my Presario 700. This is the laptop I had, my very first laptop. I did a video on this, absolutely love this machine. But let's walk through it. So, do everything you can with a normal laptop. Yes, it has XP on it, but I got Winamp so I can listen to my music. I got AOL Instant Messenger here, which, yes, it kind of does work today. I did another video on that, but that was our social media back in the day. I got the Googles, so I can Google things. Do I have Work? No, I got Works on here and Microsoft Money, so I can do some serious work on this machine. It does have a CD-ROM drive. I also have floppy disks as well, so I can transfer files between people and share viruses and whatnot. I also have my wireless card because, surprise, surprise, this doesn't have wireless built into it. So I need a wireless network PC card. So we'll plug that guy back in. That's the laptop, arguably the easiest part on it. And you're going to notice a lot of redundancy because, yeah, I got Winamp on here, but you know what? I'm going to want to listen to my music on the go. So I'm going to need to bring my iPod with me. Well, their music is covered. I can also hook that up to the computer, transfer stuff. I can play games on the computer. We all know that. But maybe I want to play games while I'm on the go. So I brought my Game Boy Pocket. Yeah, a little dated for this setup, but I always had a soft spot for the Game Boy Pocket, even though I had at this time, I would have had a Game Boy Color and maybe Advance. Maybe Advance was out in this time frame. But either way, soft spot for the Game Boy Pocket. And of course, I have Pokemon Red in there. Why wouldn't you? So we have that. So that covers games, music, but maybe I want mobile computing. So I'll have my Palm M130. Now, the great thing about this is it is, it's a mobile computer. I do have an SD card so I can transfer. I do have an IR receiver there so I can transfer data that way as well. However, this machine doesn't have a SD card slot, nor does it have an IR receiver. My ThinkPad T60 does. So if I wanted to transport data between the Palm and this machine, I needed a dock. Now, this is a little bulkier dock, but this is the dock I had. I didn't have a slimmer one. So if I knew I needed to transfer data, or if I was going on a long trip and I needed to charge it, I would need the dock and all the accoutrements with that. So let's assume I have my Razer because I admit I forgot it. Phone calls, great. I can do some gaming on there, can do gaming here, can do gaming on the laptop. But the Razer also has a camera in it, not a good one. So if I'm going to want to take pictures, I have my Canon here, and I could take arguably much better pictures than what the Motorola Razr could at the time. So can take my pictures on that. But again, I need a way to transfer files from this. Maybe I want to take some video. Well, that's where the video camera comes in. Now, this is a little extra for this setup. You might not need this, but it's just something else to think about because I can take really, really good quality video with the camera on my phone. I'm recording this with my phone right now. But if I wanted to take good quality video back then, I needed a separate camcorder. And that's where this comes in. But this is just the tip of the iceberg because, yes, I have all these devices, but I need to power them. I needed to bring an extension strip with me because one, I didn't know how many plugs I'd have in the hotel room, but two, I need to plug all this stuff in. And because late 90s, early 2000s, nothing has universal plugs. Yeah, we had USB, but not everything was USB. We had proprietary ports for this, proprietary. I had to charge it on the brick, but I had a proprietary cable to get the data off of here. So I need an extension strip. I need power bricks. I have the iPod brick there. I have the Palm brick back there. You need all of this if you're going to be traveling or computing for any extended period of time. If you want to go on the internet, you need a network card, or you need to bring a modem cable, a 56K cable, or an Ethernet cable to plug your laptop into the hotel network, if the hotel even had internet back then. Because I remember going to hotels and having to use dial up because that's all we had. So a lot of extra stuff that you had to bring with you to get a base level of computing and entertainment value out of your devices, not to mention batteries. And I only brought one game. What if I got bored of this? I'd have to bring more games with me. Or maybe I needed more cards for my Palm. So now I had to bring more SD cards, more floppy disks, more CDs, more memory cards for my camera. You see how this goes and goes and goes. And I don't want to sound like that old guy who had to walk to school both ways uphill in the snow, but this is what we had to deal with. And this is why I'm very hesitant about devices like the AI Pin or R1 when we really don't need it. We have other devices that could do that perfectly well without extra wires, without extra devices, without extra batteries. It just works on my cell phone. So what did we learn? Do we really have it better today? Maybe, sure. Was that the point of the video? I don't really know. I just know that there is a trend of having more devices today when we really don't need it. We have smartphones and laptops that are powerful enough to do everything on this desk in a very small, compact, and portable way. And more importantly, now with USB-C becoming almost universal, that means one cable, or at least one of the same type of cables, and just a charging brick that I can plug 3 or 4 devices in and charge them at the same time, or daisy chain devices to charge them. I don't need to bring all of this extra charging stuff just to power my devices. I think it's one of the cases of how easily we forget when we're so far removed, or in this case, really not that far removed from the late 90s, early to mid, even late 2000s, when this was standard fare if you needed to travel with a lot of devices. Do I think that there is merit in the AI pin or the R1? Yeah, sure. I think there will be a developing future for it. And if those devices can absorb phone features and replace my phone in a meaningful way, in a functional way, yeah, I think there's a future for it. But at the end of the day, there is something to be said about having a device with an actual screen that I can look, touch, and interact with, not having a projection or voice prompts. We're not quite there yet. That doesn't mean that we won't. There's always hope for the future. So if you like this little rant, let me know in the comments below. Like, share. These are interesting videos, and it's a little different than some of the normal fare I do. It's kind of nice to deviate into what ifs and have a nice retrospective of what it was like to travel. And speaking of traveling, I'm going to pack all this up because I actually need to do real work on my modern day laptop. So let me pack this up. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, and we'll catch you next time.